Hey folks, good evening. How you guys doing? Yeah? That was really pathetic. Really pathetic. Let's try again. Yes, come on. How are we doing? Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you in the back for standing. I appreciate that. So if you don't know, we have a PyLadies auction immediately following here. So I expect this whole room to attend with me. We can hustle on over. You guys gonna come? This is really horrible. Is like no one coming? I didn't hear anyone. Is anyone gonna come? Come on. I'm kind of pre-gaming a little bit. Don't mind me. All right, so we got a good set of lightning talks. I'm really excited. First up is Jessica Garson talking about teaching code via zine.
Hey, so my name is Jessica, and today I'm going to be talking about programming zines and teaching code via zine. So I learned how to code. I started actually learning how to code about 6 years ago when I had to deal with some messy data that came into my life and never really expected that I'd become a programmer. And I learned mostly by teaching others how to code. So that's my story, but it was really, really difficult for me to get started. And I didn't really know where to go, and everybody would tell me, you should try making a project. And I was like, I would start doing these tutorials, and I would get really frustrated midway through, and I had nobody to talk to until I found wonderful groups like PyLadies and Hear Me Code in DC. So I also grew up really into the punk community. I sing in a punk band. I actually sang a song with the punk band that played last night, which was really fun. And I also really like zines, and I learned a lot about the world by reading zines, and zines are self-published magazines. And I was at Zine Fest in Washington, D.C., which is where I'm from, and there were somebody had an old programming zine, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. This is the coolest thing in the world. And this is actually a picture of one that was given to me as a gift recently. And yeah, I was really into that idea. But I haven't seen a programming zine that came out recently, so I was like, I could bring back the programming zine. And so back in the day, supposedly, people would share programs and things that they wrote, kind of similar to GitHub, but in a pre-internet world. And so I was really excited about that. And for the Tech Lady Hackathon that happened in DC, I made a zine. And it basically looked like it was made by a 13-year-old girl in 1998, which I think was the aesthetic that I was going for. I was really obsessed with not putting it on the internet and only taking pictures of it and leaving it behind. And I would bring it to every tech event that I went to. And that was really cool. And then I made another one, and I did put it up on the internet, and you guys can have it. And it was really awesome. And a lot of it is geared towards beginners. My zine is actually called What's My Function, referencing Schoolhouse Rock. And yeah, it's designed for people who don't know where to start. And there's letters and stuff in there. And if you want to contribute, let me know. Send me an email. Also, my Twitter handle is @JessicaGarson. So that's really exciting. And I'm also doing an open space tomorrow, so come hang out with me and make zines. I don't know where it's going to be yet, but I'll probably tweet about it.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, next up, a former coworker of mine, Peter Victorine, and his little helper, talking about MicroPython-driven glowing balloon.
Hello, everybody. How many of you have heard about MicroPython? Almost everyone. Great. So for those of you who don't know, MicroPython is an implementation of the Python language for really small computers. You can go to the website. They have an advertisement for one of the boards it runs on, but it runs on many other things. For example, the BBC Microbit can run MicroPython, and there's this ESP8266 chip that can now also run MicroPython thanks to a successful Kickstarter. So it's a little board like this. You can buy it officially from a name brand store for $10. If you go to China, you can, or to a Chinese web shop, you can buy it for $4. And it has some documentation. So I bought this little board and went through these docs, and I saw they have some kind of NeoPixel driver. So I Googled what NeoPixels are. Apparently, these are LED strips like this. So you have lots of little lights that you can control individually, which is really cool. It's almost no effort to connect them. So what I wanted to do is make a glowing balloon like that. Now, the problem with that is, how do you put lights in a balloon so that it doesn't deflate? So if you're trying this at home, when you go back, the trick is to take a syringe and take a hot glue gun and glue the end, and then you can just put the balloon on there and put the lights in. So this is how that works. Now, a good thing about this board is that it has Wi-Fi, so you can actually program it to make a hotspot and then control it remotely. So, for example, I have this little test function testing that 1 + 2 = 3. Let's run this. And the balloon, maybe if it works, live demos on PyCon. Yeah, it's green now. So let's test fate once again. Alrighty, there we go. I encourage you to go get one of these little boards. They're really cheap, and to experiment with them. If you have any kids or access to any Python beginners, you want to teach them Python, this is a really good way to make that kind of workshops and lessons way cooler than just with text or graphics on a monitor. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right, next up is my friend, James Powell, speaking on read watches in Python.
Okay, let's get this going. So I'm James Powell. I'm on Twitter. Oh, hey, how you doing? Hi, I'm James. That's fantastic. Don't use this code on Twitter. I'm going to show you why I don't use this code on Twitter. For those of you who don't know me, which is many of you out there, I am the guy wearing a suit. Guido today asked me what's up with the suit, and I told him I am the most subversively dressed person here. You may have also seen me at the NumFocus booth, and some of you have learned about NumFocus from Lorena's awesome keynote yesterday. Go to numfocus.org if you're interested. If you like Python, if you like data science, if you want to attend a Python and data science conference, go to pydata.org. There are many PyData events in the US this year. What I want to show you is what Larry Hastings has derisively called one of my many little party tricks, but it's a cute little technique that could be used effectively in cases where the deliverable is not code. It could be used for debugging. I call it read watches. For those of you who are C programmers and are familiar with debugging in GDB, this is a feature that GDB has that is completely impossible to do in Python until now. This is actually something that you can pip install into an interpreter. It only works with Python 3.5.0. There's a really crazy reason for that, but if people actually want to use this, then I can make this available to work on any Python version, as long as it's on Mac or Linux. Unfortunately, I don't support Windows. I'm sorry, Steve Dower. So I'm not going to actually pip install it, because that's the scariest thing about doing a demo, assuming that you have network access. But just presume that I've started with a completely fresh Python install, and I pip installed this, and let me show you the read watches. So I have a module that you import. It's called rwatch. What that does is it adds two things to the sys module: get rwatch and set rwatch. Since we're Python programmers and we are accustomed to interactively programming, let's just look at the help text for this. Get rwatch returns the target set with set rwatch. Well, that doesn't really tell us that much. And set rwatch takes targets, a mapping of object IDs to a function. What this means is that you have some object 10. It's called x, and x is just some name that refers to this object 10. What you can do is create a function, and let's just have this function do something like this. I saw this at this. And then you can set a read watch. which is just a mapping from the ID of that to the function. And every time something tries to access that object, it calls your callback. This is very easy to do in Python for the most part, for pure Python code. It doesn't work deep into the internals of the Python interpreter or for certain literal syntax. But what I do is, since Python, or at least CPython, is a stack-based virtual machine, every time something gets popped off the stack, I trigger a callback. This is really useful for cases where you have very large data flows and you want to figure out where is this data item actually being used. You can build a lot of neat little debugging tricks with this. But I want to show you something really wild that you can do with this. Unfortunately, my showmanship is not as good as the gentleman yesterday who did the compromise package, but I'll try and wow you a little bit. One neat thing that you could do with this is as follows. Let's have another callback. Oh, I'll show you how that callback works. So if I have this, you can see I have a function g, and when I put x into g, you can see that it triggers the callback twice. Once when I put the thing in, when I put x into the function, and once when the function actually looks at x. Here's something else you could do that's kind of neat. So you could try, somebody tries to do this. Nope. Or you have the OS module already imported, maybe the sys module already imported, and you do this. Actually, sometimes that doesn't quite work. But what you can think is you can do some interesting sandboxing. Say I don't want people to ever look at the number 10. Now you can't actually ever create a number 10 in your program. So you can do some interesting sandboxing type things, but I want to show you the wildest thing in the last minute or so that I have. What you saw was that I returned the object, right? Let's try this. Let's say if the object is an integer, oops. Let's do that one more time, and we make sure we spell everything correctly. Is instance. Okay. And hopefully that will do it. Oh, we'll start our interpreter one more time. Import rwatch from sys, import set rwatch, from collections, import default dict. And hopefully we won't run out of time. ff frame object, if is instance, object int. Yeah, we're under the pressure, aren't we? There we go. If it's an int, we return the int doubled. So 1 is now 1. Oop. And now we have to set the rwatch. And we'll set the rwatch on everything. So now 1 is 2. 1 plus 1 is 4. If we say x equals 2 and we do x times 2, x times itself, what do we get? 64. How about that? You could really ruin somebody's day. Thank you very much.
That takes some mad guts to code live. That's awesome. All right, next up we have Vasily.
Yeah.
Sorry, old game for grown-up geeks, right?
Yeah. So hello everybody. How many of you like games? Quite a lot. And how many of you like writing programs? So then probably a lot of you would like to create some artificial intelligence for your games. So I would like to talk about a small project that would let you create some AI and watch it do either some crazy things or maybe some very clever things. But I'll start with a short history recap. Like probably a lot of you are familiar with those boxes from Nintendo, and we had like a clone of those called Dendy with this crazy elephant. It's really spelled with E, and it was really crazy. So when we were all children, we were all like playing those, and there was a game that kind of nowadays became a World of Tanks. There were like tanks in the city, and they were doing some stuff. And when we were playing it, I sometimes wondered why this guy over there did this or that move, or what a stupid tank. How can it be this stupid? And now, if you were in the same shoes with me, you can fix this, or you can make a really clever opponent, or whatever. So now, meet our little project called Tanksies. So right now is what we have is Arena is a multiplayer. So far, it's a multiplayer between. So what is released right now on a GitHub, you see the link over there, is a client, a GUI client, which supports Windows, Linux, and macOS. It's for one player, and you can plug up to 3 bots for it. And we want to add flag capturing and some other ideas. By the way, they are welcome. Again, very GitHub stuff. Now, just a few words about the architecture. Like it's written in, my bad, it's written in Java, because my friend started that and he likes Java. And I like Python, so all AI stuff that I would be doing for that would be in Python. And we have WebSocket protocol that allows to plug kind of any language, more or less. We have C++ API, Java API, and Python API. And it allows you to create an AI that's easy to use and stuff like that. Now, no, just time for a quick demo. I hope I have some time. I have like a client opened already. You see now nothing happens because there is no server. And I'm going to launch it. Oh, wrong window. Launch it really quick, just like this. It should take no more than 10 seconds for run, and we'll see. Let's go back to the client. We'll see that there is a field that might or might not be familiar for you if you just play it. Yeah, now I can move like this and that. And now I'm alone. Those guys are doing nothing. And they're just too stupid. And I just can drive back. I'm not driving too good myself, you see, but still. So what if I want them to do something interesting? I can go to where's my Eclipse? Oh, here it is. And here's a very, very simple bot that I have. It fits in one screen. Let's try to make it like bigger. I don't know if it works. This bot doesn't do anything really, really sophisticated. It's a very, very simple bot. What it does is just moves randomly. But it still doesn't stand still like it's just a stupid thing. Now let's try to run it. So actually what is going behind the scenes is just a Python bot.py space bot1, its name. Not a very creative name, but still. And you see one of those guys just started doing something. And I can try to hunt him. Oh, no, he got me. Oh, man. I'll try to hunt you down. Because you got me, and I don't like that. Yeah, I got him. And I can just launch a few more if I'd like to, up to 4 players so far on this map. This could be varied because it's configured entirely in a JSON file, a gamesetup.json. And now you see that this guy over there, like that guy over there, started moving as well. And I can try to get him too, like, so where are you? Like, I got you. Got ya. Nah. No. Okay. And I can just launch another bot and see, yeah, just kind of out of time, but you see all 4 are moving. And just a small, where's that? Okay. Just a small note. Here are we, here are our URL, follow us on GitHub, or if it's easier, bit.ly link. And thank you for watching me.
Thank you.
And stuff.
All right, next up, let's see if I can pronounce this right. Jose Castro, how to recover from chmod.
Hello, everyone. My name is José. I come from Portugal, which means that to me it's about 2 in the morning. I work at Codacy. You can't see all my slides. Can you? No? I work at Codacy. It's an automated code review platform. I'm not here to tell you about that. You know what? I'm just going to show you the slides right here. There you go. You're not going to be able to see everything. OK, someone just fixed the problem for us. My name is Jose. I work at Codacy, an automated code review platform. I'm not here to tell you about that. I'm a magician and a card cheater. I can say that out loud because I don't actually cheat people for money. I do gambling demonstrations. If you find me in the hallway, you're entitled to ask for a miracle. And I'm here to tell you about a problem that we used in interviewing in my last company. So let's say that you're in the data center by yourself, absolutely no connection to the outside world, and you cannot reboot the machines, but someone had the brilliant idea of performing a chmod -X on chmod itself. Solve the problem. Now, a disclaimer, this talk is not about the value of the problem for interviewing. This talk is just about the possible solutions. All of the solutions presented here have been provided either by myself or my former colleagues. And unless otherwise noted, it has all been tested. So the first thing you can do is you can use a number of languages that implement chmod. I mean, nowadays, even JavaScript does this. But going to the file system, you can just create an executable file. It doesn't have to do anything, because what you're going to do after you compile it is you're going to cat chmod onto it, and you can run it. Another possible solution is without creating the new executable, you can just copy an existing one, and you can cat, again, chmod onto it, and it works. If you really want to, you can write a little bit of C to restore the permissions on chmod. You compile it, you run it once, you're good to go. On some machines, you will have something like BusyBox that you can launch, and it has a chmod inside. That will solve it. But what's available on most machines is tar. So with tar, you can actually create an archive and tell it which permissions to store. And then when you extract the file, everything's working again. But if tar allows you to do this, you don't really need to create the archive. You can do it on the fly. Now, another thing, I say untested, but this should obviously work, of course. You can create the archive, and then you can edit the damn thing, you know? You just figure out where the permissions are stored. Now, I said you couldn't go to the internet. I said nothing about the other machines in the data center. So you could open a socket to another machine. You could fetch the file there, bring it back, and restore it. CPIO allows you to edit files. And guess what? After the 21st byte, there are 3 little bytes that hold the file the permissions for the file. And if you could just change that to whatever you want, and guess what? With a little bit of regular expressions and a little bit of shell wizardry, you're going to be able to do that on the fly. Now, one thing I haven't tested, but I guess this should work, is to do something to the file that forces the inode into cache, and then you can go to /proc. And provided you know the structures, you can use something like set to alter the execution bit, and then you can run chmod once. Now, a concept I'm very, very fond of. If you've seen me perform, and I may perform tomorrow, I may do an open session on card magic, come find me. A concept I'm very fond of is the concept of time travel. So for this one, I would suggest that you do it with just chmod in a separate directory. And here's what you're going to do. Git init. You're going to add chmod to a repository. You're going to commit to something that you can go back to. And at this point, I should say that I haven't tested this yet, but what you're going to do next is you're actually going to remove chmod, and then you're going to update the index of the Git repository, telling it that chmod used to be executable. And then you're going to extract the file again, and it's going to work. I hope. Another concept I am very fond of, fighting fire with fire, or in this case, fighting an operating system with another operating system. So the idea here would be to launch an operating system that would have access to the outside world, and you would run chmod from within to edit your file. You can't really do that, right? There's no operating system that you can launch that is not inside a container, a Docker, a jail, something, and that can access the outside world, right? Wrong. There is actually one that does this. So here's the Emacs solution. Now, this actually works. It only has one problem, and the problem is that I'm not really an Emacs guy. I'm more like a Vim kind of guy. Way to go. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find a Vim solution, so I found the next best thing, which is to run something from the command line. And this is, after all, Python, so here's my last solution in Python. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have Nathaniel Smith on async generators. And he's like coding right now.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So generators, they're pretty awesome, right? Let's say, like, for example, I've got a line text, a file full of text, and each line is a JSON document, and I want to loop through and decode each of them, right? So generators make this super easy. Right, so we have this file object comes in, it's already an iterator, you can loop through it, decode each one, return it out. And what's great here about this is that these are composable, right? I have one iterator, the stream coming in, and now I have another stream coming out, and I can keep stacking these however much I want. And the other great thing is that it's incremental, right? So I'm only processing one line at a time. I don't read the next line from the file until I finish processing the one before. Just to show how we use this, right? It's again, right, so we just can loop over that thing we just wrote, especially if we do it right. Oh, there we go. What am I doing? Decoded in. There we go. We can see the JSON coming out of this file. And then when we're done, the loop stops, just like we want. And the other nice thing is that this 3 lines of code actually has a ton of stuff actually going in under the cover, right? If you wanted to do that directly using the the iterator protocol, be like, okay, so first you have to find an init, which has to do, you have to do all your state handling by hand, right? And then you have to have this iter method, which is just pure boilerplate. And then the most annoying part is then you have to keep track of the state of the iteration as you go, right? You check if we're done. If we're not, okay, then we can actually return the next piece. Otherwise, okay, we have to raise the special exception. It's really annoying, right? Okay. So generators, they're awesome. But that's if we have a file full of lines of JSON. What if instead we have a socket, right? We're talking to a network server, and the protocol is sending us some little documents like this, right? Well, it's 2016. We have async IO, async await. It's great. So, and starting in 3.5, we have async iterators. So here's what this would look like, right? Say, here we go. So we're going to be something async, so we say async at the front just to tell it that. Instead of a regular file, we have this async file, which might go off and do some network stuff each time we read from it. It's awesome. And then we have to do an async for loop over that thing. And then because we're making an async iterator, we'll use async yield, right? And now this will incrementally read one line from the network, process it, do whatever, and then only after it's done with that, go read the next line from the network, right? Because, if you think about it, writing network protocols is all about composing together incremental processing streams. That's exactly what generators are for. This is awesome. There's only one minor problem, which is in Python 3.5. You can't do this. Until now. So I have a little library. You can see it has an extremely reassuring version number because I released it this afternoon. And the way it works is we take that thing we wanted to write. Oh, wait, actually, first I have to import it, right? And this. And then we take that thing we wanted to write. We add a little decorator. And we put in this sort of funky little syntax here for the yield. Now that's legal syntax, and just to prove to you that it works, let's do write a little async IO client here. So we'll get our make our connection. And then now we can loop over our async generator. Especially async for decoded. And, right, there we go. Print got JSON coded. And of course, it stops at the end. And then it's async IO, so there's a little bit of boilerplate, but only like one line. And I forgot an await. That's the best part about async IO, the great error messages when you do that. But you see now I'm connecting to a little server here. It's streaming data out slowly, and we're processing it as we go.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much. So that was Nathaniel Smith. We have another Nathaniel Smith talking about generators, but this time generating poetry with Python.
Hello, I've decided I'm the doppelganger. I think he's more well known than I am, so that's fine. I'll be the doppelganger. But yeah, hi, I'm Nathaniel. I'm a poet. I'm also a programmer. So for years, I've been kind of playing with generative poetry. And this is an abbreviated version of a talk I gave at PyDX last year, which is an amazing Python conference here in Portland. So if you're in Portland, you should go this year. It'll be in October. So this is cut-up poetry. So cut-up poetry is when you take some existing text, like a novel or a magazine or like something from 1983. I like that era of cut-up. And you cut up some existing text and you make a new work from it. So I do this. I didn't do this poem, but I think that cut-up is really neat. It's a cool way to kind of like re-experience some content. So I wanted to do this to the whole internet. That was kind of my idea. So to that end, I've been working on a tool for years called Prosaic. It's written in Python, and it can process up to a gigabyte or so of text, mark it all up with metadata, and then let you generate poetry from it. So the way that Prosaic works is you parse a whole bunch of plain text. All that plain text gets cut up into small phrases. Each one of those is marked up with like parts of speech, how many syllables is in the phrase, what are the stems from that phrase, and that all gets thrown into a database. And then a human, like you or me, we write a template that describes a poem we really want to see. And then finally we say, hey, Prosaic, given this list of phrases, given this template, please approximate a poem for me. And Prosaic very helpfully attempts to do that. It uses an algorithm that I came up with as an undergrad many moons ago that kind of weakens your requirements over time to give you something that is a little bit like what you asked for, but with a lot of randomization. So this is what a template looks like. It's JSON, and each one of these JSON objects is a set of rules that describes a line. So if any of you, took an English class at some point, can anyone shout out what this is? What kind of poem is this? Hooray! So yeah, it's a sonnet. We have a rhyme scheme. This is about some stuff. I just finished a book cutting up video game walkthroughs. So I was thinking about winning and life and one-ups and things like that. Yeah, so I read a template like this, and we'll generate some right now. So I've already prepared a corpora, which is the script of hackers mixed in with the script of Pretty in Pink. So I of course call this corpus the Pretty Gibson, and I will give a disclaimer that there's a lot of foul language in both of these films. I apologize if you don't like foul language, but let's see what happens. So there, we have a approximation of a sonnet. We didn't do very well. So I dread reading these when I generate them live. I have no idea what just happened. But let's see. This one is, love is living, you're fabulous. You need to lay off that shit. Understanding the hidden message. You've got a Mrs. Murphy to see you, sir. I mean, these don't usually make that much sense. But yeah, you can kind of read through the rest of these. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So we can also generate some haiku. See if I could spell. And I made a typo. So, oh yeah, there it is. Kind of boring. That's pretty good. So. Thank you. It's not Hack the Planet, but I'll take it. So in case that didn't work, here's another sonnet that I made earlier. Since I've last given this talk, a thing that's changed is that I've written a web front end for Prosaic. So now anyone can go and hang out and have their own special Prosaic party, and they can upload their own text files and then mix and match them. And the UI is terrible because I don't know how to write UIs, so patches welcome. But yeah, so using it from here instead of the command line, I've selected Call of Cthulhu and Jane Eyre, two of my favorite stories. And I've got the haiku template selected. I can edit this JSON right in here if I wanted, and then I can generate some poems. And for some reason today, Prosaic's been really choosy. It only cares about Victorian stuff right now. So we just have a bunch of Jane Eyre haikus, but I'm still into that. Hopefully you are too. So yeah, so that's Prosaic Party. It's bootleg. Don't judge me. So here's some stuff that I've made. I've made a Twitter bot called Haiku the Gibson. It's just hackers haiku all day. It's great. I've written a book of poetry based on cyberpunk novels. I just finished a book, like I mentioned, on video game walkthroughs. And I was going to read this, but I'm about out of time. This is a poem from my new book called Paracommand. And finally, check out my press, Tiny Ornithopter. There's also comics by Spinecone, if you saw her Lightning Talk yesterday, for sale there. And yeah, some other links. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have Ian Lee talking about PEP 8 versus PEP 8.
So my name is Ian Lee. You can find me at Ian Lee 1521. Come find me later and ask me why the 1521. That's the handle you can find me most anywhere. So the setup. A couple days ago, Guido posted this tweet that sort of made a little bit of a pre-announcement to some work that I've been working on along with Ian Cordasco, who's the Flakegate developer for the last 6 months that I've been working on this. So backing up, defining your terms. So when I refer to PEP 8 with capital letters, I'm referring to the document. So this is what the Python Software Foundation created. The PEP 8 with lowercase, I'm referring to the tool that's on GitHub that you can pip install. So PEP, because I had this question come up yesterday, is a Python enhancement proposal. So I just wanted to throw that in there as well. So why am I am a big follower of Simon Sinek. So I try to leave everything better than when I found it. And during my day job, I work at Lawrence Livermore National Lab. I am a systems engineer. I do work with HPC computing. I also am working on making it easier for our developers to open source software. I also have been the maintainer for PEP 8, the tool, for the last year and a half, and didn't necessarily intend to be. I'll get to more of that in a second. I also contribute to a couple of KML libraries, and I'm kind of a pseudo-editor for Ben Balter's GitHub Pages blog, which, as a quick tangent, going and finding a blog, several of them, especially with GitHub Pages, are now GitHub repos, and you can just go make edits. So if you find typos, it's a nice way to get introduced to open source development. So I also have what I would consider one micro project, find duplicates. And all it does is it allows you to look at directories and find duplicate files. So I use this for trying to fix after I broke my images directory and had duplicated up to 8 times a bunch of pictures that I had. So I'm also a scuba diver, a rock climber, a blues dancer, and if you haven't figured it out, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with technology. I actually often leave my technology and go out into the woods, and if I seemed like I disappeared while I've been working on what I'm about to talk about over the last 6 months, it's because I went to Philmont, New Mexico on a mountain and helped build a climbing tower. So the history of PEP 8 as I understand it. The first commit to the PEP's Mercurial repo was in 2001. It was Guido's famous Python style guide essay converted into PEP format. One of the interesting things that I've learned over the last year and a half is that PEPs are not actually static. It turns out that since that first commit, there's been 118 commits and changes to that document. Now, a lot of them are typos or stylistic or new features that have gotten added, but there are some other more substantive changes that have happened. So the original author was Johan, first for the tool now, first created back in October 2006. At that time, the document had already changed 34 times. It got picked up for a number of years by Florent, had changed another 51 times while he was working with it, and now it became my turn. So in December 2014, I reached out to Johan. Florent had to step away from maintaining the project, and I offered to help out a little bit, merge some pull requests, do some review. It turned out that I got handed the entire project, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. And the document has changed another 20 times since that time in the last year and a half. And according to the Python script Vanity, which is a little bit out of date because PyPI stats are having some issues, there's about 17 million total downloads off of the Python package index. So over the time that I've been maintaining it, one of the big things that's come out of it is the Python Code Quality Authority on GitHub. This was Ian Cordasco's initiative. He reached out to me, and we basically put Flake8 and Pep8 in the same repo and started to bring in some of the other projects in the same sphere. And then something interesting happened in January. Guido opened this issue, 466, on the project and requested that we rename the project. There was a similar issue opened for PEP 257. So PEP8 got a new name. It's now called PyCodeStyle. PEP 257 is PyDocStyle. And interestingly, there have been some hurdles. So read the docs. It's not as easy as you would think to just rename a project. There's some open issues about this. And the reality is it's pretty easy to spin up a new project and put the new URL, and life continues. The Python package index and downstream dependencies. This is a very popular package. A lot of people use it. We'll see how that fleshes out over the coming time. So what's happened to date? There is a new version coming soon, probably on Thursday during the sprints. Don't use it. The only change from 1.7 is that it adds a deprecation warning saying don't use this, and instead install what was just pushed today, the PyCodeStyle 2.0, which gives you a PyCodeStyle binary for your path instead, and all the same functionality. We're sprinting on Thursday, and if all goes well, I'm going to grab a government open space tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Sam Leventer, who requested wine because I was drinking wine earlier. Yes, I know. From robots to art, tales of multidisciplinary engineering.
All right. 2 disclaimers before we get started. First is that I have pulled this talk out of my nether regions this afternoon, so any typos or bad jokes are completely my fault. Please excuse that. Secondly is that the amount of Python content in this talk will be incredibly low, but that's part of the point. This is going to be about multidisciplinary engineering, and it involves the full span of creating cool stuff. And yes, despite the tomatoes that may get thrown at me, that can involve more than just Python. So bear with that. And we're hiring, so if anything in here sounds good, then come find me or my cohorts later. All right, so what sort of madhouse is it that we work in where we create everything from robots to art? This company, Applied Minds, is a very weird sort of company. We're not a software company. We sometimes describe ourselves as a furniture company. We do sell furnitures to everybody who wants some crazy high-tech advanced stuff. We employ all sorts of people, throw them all in a blender, and cool stuff comes out. All right, so what do those sorts of crazy people do? What do we have astronauts and data scientists and welders doing together? Building the future for our clients. That's where people call us when they want to peek into the future. We build robots. Robots are really cool, obviously, but because they're inherently multidisciplinary. In order to pull a robot together, you need to get all these various disciplines working together in concert to build one object that's going to achieve its task. It's not just robots, though, custom physical interfaces. A lot of what we do we can't talk about. That's alluded to by the blacked out lines here. I'm going to keep moving quickly because I want to get through a lot of stuff here. What types of problems do we solve? We tackle a very different sort of challenges than most software engineers do. In the rapid prototyping world, we don't really have a production environment. What we do have are demonstrations to our clients and to other kind of VIPs, and those really must go well. So it's a very high bar that we set for that. We have lots of oddball hardware that we have to play with. We're often in the realm of prototype stuff. Very little is Googleable or has proper documentation, so there's a good amount of reverse engineering. So what does it mean to build robots? Sometimes you're in the office, sometimes you're in the field. Sometimes you've got 5 of your closest friends and coworkers crammed into a trailer, and you've got a piece of machinery that's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, and you've got to figure that out. A whole different skill set than a lot of people have exercised previously. So what technologies do we use? I said there was a low Python content here. This is some of what we use. I was talking to my coworkers trying to come up with a comprehensive list of technologies, and I don't even think we would be able to. But this is basically what we are currently using on active projects. Yes, I'm not giving too many details here. We are basically in perpetual stealth mode. There's one project I'll go into some detail on. We built this aging suit. It was this exoskeleton suit. It looked something like this. The goal of it was to simulate the effects of getting older. So that you would put on this suit and you would feel like what it is to become 60, 70, 80 years old when your senses start to fail and your abilities decline. And we would emulate all the various effects of that. Servo motors in your joints. There was a complete computer vision system that replaced your eyesight with a head-mounted display, and then we would modify the image chain going into your eyes. Here's a list of some of what went into pulling that together. Python was a key part of this, but again, our software stack was basically everything because we had to get this done. About 6 months start to finish, which was pretty impressive to get from an idea to that experience being on stage. What up? Okay, so why do you guys care? What's the point of all of this? The point is that there is a lot more to the software development world than you might be aware of. I wanted to share this with people, but the idea is get creative, get your hands dirty. Playing with hardware is fun. Talk to people with different skills than you. Multidisciplinary means something more than a front-end developer talking to a back-end developer. And there is more to the world than online advertising and increasing click-through rates. And of course, did I mention we are hiring, so come find us. And I think that was actually even on time.
Awesome, thank you. All right, next up, we have Georgia Ray talking about fun facts about pythons.
All right, cool. So I'm not going to be talking about code at all. I'm going to be talking about snakes. So quick warning, there are pictures of snakes, but none of them are eating or biting anything. Instead, there's really cute ones, like this little guy. And I didn't learn all this information because I'm bad at Googling error messages. I work with this cute little guy who lives at OMSI. So the basics of pythons is that they are tree-climbing constrictors, and they're non-venomous. And there are several species, including reticulated pythons, which are the longest snakes in the world and also have the coolest 8-bit pattern on them. Also, if you want to see more cool patterns, look up ball python morphs. None of these exist in nature. This is a spider morph, and this is an albino morph, which I think should have been called the banana morph, but I wasn't consulted. Okay, so how long are pythons' tails? It's a little tricky to tell because they don't have back legs. So instead of just taking everything past the back legs and saying this bit, we're going to find everything behind their butt, which is still pretty hard. But if you have an X-ray machine, their butt is at the end of their rib cage. So they actually have very short tails, as you can tell from this image, and very long torsos. But if you don't have an X-ray, you can still find their butt. And instead of showing you a picture of that, here's another cool morph called, which I think should have been named the creamsicle morph. So the way you find their butt is they have these two little claws on either side that probably have a technical name, but I call them butt spurs. And these little claws are all that's left of what used to be their legs. So just like with all animals, you still just have to find their legs. All right, next question to answer. What's the deal with the tongue flicking? So this is how pythons smell. They have a chemical sensor at the back of their mouth, which also has a technical name that's really hard to say. And they grab particles in the air with their tongue and pull it back. So follow-up question, what are all those holes on their face if it's not nostrils? Also, side note, this one has the coolest eye. So the face holes, which also have a technical name that's not very helpful, are actually heat sensors. So they can see heat directionally, and they have very poor eyesight, but they can find their prey using the heat sensors on the front of their face. Once they find their prey, they will squeeze it to death, which is not the same as crushing it to death. The organs and the bones will, for the most part, remain intact. And depending on which expert you ask, either they are squeezing it so that the animal's heart cannot beat anymore, or so that it can't inhale. And then once it's dead, it will swallow the animal whole. And quite often, the animal is bigger than their head. So how do they eat something bigger than their head in one bite? So let's take a look at their skull to figure this out. And the first and most important thing is they can't dislocate their jaw, but they can open it almost 180 degrees. And then the second part that's really important is you'll notice a slight gap on the bottom jaw. They can also open their bottom jaw laterally, like so. So this is what makes it so that they can eat things that are significantly bigger than their heads. All right. So this next thing I'm going to explain is not very pleasant to look at, so instead, here's a couple of ball pythons cuddling. So pythons will not bite their prey to attack it, but they will bite to tell someone to go away. So if a python doesn't want to interact with you, it will bite, but it won't latch on. It'll open its mouth almost 180 degrees and hit you with all of its teeth, which is called a punch bite. All right, and then our last fun fact is sometimes pythons are twins. You can get two that hatch from the same egg. And then this is where I got all of the pictures from, and feel free to come ask me more fun facts about snakes. I know a lot more.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was awesome. All right. Next up, we have Larry Hastings talking about my life as a meme.
Hi. Keeping in the tradition of the last couple talks, this has nothing to do with Python or computer programming. So I have a hobby. It's called speedrunning. This is where you play an old video game, usually a classic video game, and you try and finish the game as fast as you can. Almost anything goes in speedrunning. Except if there's a built-in cheat to the game, you're not allowed to use that. But if there are glitches in the game, you are encouraged to exploit those. This is a streamer named Bucci. She's playing Ape Escape 1 for the Sony PlayStation from 1996. And you can see here she's exploiting an infinite jump cheat, and she's sort of flying over most of the level to get to the end. Now, speedrunning is kind of a hobby for the young. Bucci probably streams more than 20 hours a week. The hobby has been around for 20 years, but it's really exploded in the last couple of years, particularly because of Twitch and other online streaming services. So there's now there's an organization called Games Done Quick, and they run 2 events every year. In January, they had Awesome Games Done Quick 2016, which is a week-long speedrunning marathon for charity, 24 hours a day for 7 days straight. It's streamed live over the internet, and it's watched by more than 100,000 bored teenagers. So here's the stream as it looked. This is Chris LBC playing Spyro 1 from 1996. On the left, you can see the game. There's Spyro. In the middle, you can see Chris LBC playing the game. And on the right, you can see the Twitch chat, which streams by so incredibly quickly you can't ever follow it. Now, I'm not qualified to speedrun. I don't do it very much, and I don't have the time to devote to it. But I decided to go this year, so I went to the expo. Between games, they need a lot of setup time, and so they have a camera that they just point at the audience. So I decided, well, I'll just go and sit up front. And I pulled out my gaming unit, and I just sat there and played a video game. This looks from the back like a Nintendo DS. It's actually something called a Pandora, and it's for retro gaming. It plays all sorts of old things. So I was sitting there. This is me on stream. I'm just sitting there playing video games, and I just kept doing it for a couple of days running, just sitting there with more than 100,000 bored teenagers watching me. And then some strange things started to happen. One of the people who worked at the show came over, and they said, you know, they're talking about you on the stream. And I was like, well, sure, that's fine. And then another guy came over, and he said, could you wave to the camera? I was like, sure. And then a third guy came over, and he said, people are making donations in your name. Where would you like those to go? And then a fourth guy came over and said, they want to know what game you're playing. It turned out they had given me a nickname. I was known as DS Dad. I guess to a bored 15-year-old, anybody with gray hair looks like a dad, and they thought this was a DS. So DS Dad was a very active hashtag, both in the Twitch chat and on Twitter. It was to the point where when I wasn't on stream, they would spin up these elaborate conspiracy theories about why isn't he there? Did they kick him out? So people were posting love letters to me. They were drawing pictures of me and comics. This one's my favorite. Now, I don't know if you've ever had 100,000 bored teenagers professing their love to you, but it's a baffling experience. I had people at AGDQ stopping me in the hallway for pictures. One guy was really excited. I signed his Nintendo 64 controller for him. And all I did was sit there playing video games badly while they were doing other things. Initially, I thought this was all terrible. I thought it was really annoying. But eventually, I was like, you know what? They're being respectful to me. I'm not like a punchline. It's all for charity. So it's fine. I'm good with it. So in July will be Summer Games Done Quick. This is their other event. This is a week-long, 24-hour marathon of speed running. It's streamed online to 100,000 bored teenagers. I'm planning on going, and the bored teenagers are already tweeting about how excited they are to be seeing me coming up. And maybe you're going to watch too. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Larry. All right, so we're going to try something a little different. Instead of giving everyone 5 minutes, we're giving these folks 1 minute, and they're going to talk about their local, regional Python-centric conferences. So you have 1 minute, and then you're going to exit out, and then the next person is going to come up. If you're giving a talk on these 1 minute talks, please come up. So yeah, let's get started. First one up, EuroSciPy. Go for it.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to introduce you to EuroSciPy. That's a European version of the SciPy conference. So if you're interested in Python and science and you want to come to Europe or near Europe, you should come to EuroSciPy. It's a 9th edition. It will be the end of August, and we'll have 2 days of tutorials, 2 days of presentations, and 1 day of sprints. Registration is already open, and the submission deadline for talks and tutorials is June 3rd, so just a few days ahead. Then please, if you would like to speak or give a, you guys also a poster, actually I've forgotten, you can also present a poster, talk, or tutorial, please submit your abstract. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Farilani Rizari. I'm from Puerto Rico, and I'm here to promote PyCaribbean. It's the first regional Caribbean Python conference, and we're celebrating it this year in Puerto Rico. Well, this next year. This year was in Dominican Republic. It was a total success, and we'll try to emulate it again. And because you guys are so awesome, everybody here has a huge discount, and we're giving the registrations at $75, which is already up at pycaribbean.com. So I hope you guys can join us. Thank you.
So I just put it here. Yeah, hi, I am Alexander. I'm one of the program chairs of EuroPython, and I'd like to invite you to join us for the 15th EuroPython conference. And actually, one of the hardest things to do this year was to pack EuroPython in just to 1 slide as requested. So no problem, I understand. So probably take a picture, look at it later, because EuroPython is super packed. We have some awesome keynote speakers. We have many, many sessions. Check our website. Schedule is already up. We will also launch a second call for proposals just like this Saturday, and this call for proposal is limited for hot topics and the most recent stuff. Also, I can promise you Bilbao is the city in northern Spain, is awesome, and it's your last chance to go there because next year we're going to move the conference. We put up some info on at Twitter at EuroPython, and yeah, hope to see you there. Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm Brian Koslow, for those of you that don't know me, and I would like to invite you all to a strange, mysterious, far-off, and exotic land, Ohio. So, PyOhio, it's a regional PyCon conference, essentially this conference in miniature. This will be our 9th year. We have 2 days of talks, tutorials, open spaces, lightning talks, a fantastic hallway track, young coders. If you love this experience, it's the same one, just a little smaller. We are looking for sponsors. We are looking for volunteers. We are looking for speakers. The CFP is actually open until Friday at midnight Eastern time. We are a great venue for new speakers at conferences. So if you've never done this before, some folks from here, Lorena Mesa, Alex Gaynor, their first talks at PyOhio. This year, David Beasley will be our keynote, and our Sunday morning unkeynote will be Ed Finkler from Graph Story. He will be speaking from personal experience on mental health issues in the tech industry. All the information is on the slide in terms of time. Registration is open, And as always, PyOhio is 100% free for all events to attend. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Iqbal. I'd like to introduce you to two of the regional PyCons that we're going to have in Southeast Asia this year. First is the PyCon Singapore, PyCon SG, which will be held in June, and the next one is PyCon MAI, PyCon Malaysia, which will be held in August. The crowd that comes to PyCon, these regional PyCons are pretty young, especially for the Malaysian PyCon. When we did the PyCon last year, we took a questionnaire, and 80% of the people that came had experience in Python for less than 2 years. So if you have a radical idea that you think can change the world, or you want to dominate the world dominance, I really suggest that you send in a CFP, buy a ticket, and come to PyCon MAI and PyCon SG and control the young minds that are eager to learn from you. As a side note, and this is very important, I might be a bit biased because I'm from here, I'm from this region. I've always believed that Southeast Asia has the best food in the world. But coming to Portland, eating out in town, I'm starting to doubt that. Right. Okay. All right. Thank you, PyCon. Thank you, Portland. See you in Southeast Asia.
Hi, I'm from Singapore, and now you know Singapore is not part of China. Right. We are having a Force Asia conference in Singapore at Science Center. So it's actually an award-winning Science Center. The key about this conference is that it's totally family-friendly. So we actually have workshops to cater to children as young as 7. And they'll be learning about 3D printing, Raspberry Pi, Internet of Things, and so on. Right. So if you are able to come sometime next year, right, you have more than enough time to plan a holiday. Right, so please join us. The website has all the details, and so it's only about 20 hours away. Yeah, thank you. Take care.
Hi, my name is John Roa. I would like to invite you all to the Python and PyData Colombia 2017. It's going to take place in Bogota, Colombia, 10 and 11 of February. We are expecting more than 220 attendees. And this is my email, and this is the website when we are going to enable the call for proposal by the end of this month. So you are all invited to be part of this party. It's very important to mention that Fernando Perez, the IPython creator, is one of our keynote speakers. So we are very happy to do our first Python national event in Colombia. So you're invited.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Peter McCormick, and I'm one of the organizers of PyCon Canada. I just want to let you know briefly that we'll be holding the 4th annual PyCon Canada event this fall in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Thank you. We don't have the exact date yet. We're still confirming that. But if you're interested in this, it'll be sort of either late October, early November, and we're hoping to announce that very soon. Just want to mention tomorrow we're actually going to be having an open space just for those who would be interested, either in organizing or volunteering. And wherever you are in Canada, I would love to speak with you. Although it's in Toronto this year, we're hoping maybe next year we can host it somewhere else. So if that interests you, please come speak with me or follow us on Twitter. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Lacey, and I'm the co-chair for DjangoCon US that is happening in July in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I'm here to tell you to buy tickets, and I'm here to tell you to buy tickets today, because today is the very last day of our early bird pricing. Tomorrow, all ticket levels go up $50, but today, corporate tickets are less than $500, and student and diversity tickets are less than $200. So today is really the best day for you to buy DjangoCon tickets. I also want you to know that tutorials are $150 each, and they're staying that way. All our tutorials are also for sale. The website is djangocon.us. You can follow us on Twitter @DjangoCon. And you should know that we have free childcare. We have a lot of accessibility information on our website. And if you have any other questions about DjangoCon, please find me and ask.
Hi
Hi, everybody. My name's John. I'm one of the organizers of Pi Gotham. This is our 5th year doing the conference, and we're going to be in New York City, July 16th and 17th at the United Nations Conference Building. We're going to have 500 attendees and 80 talks, and if you're going to be at DjangoCon, I suggest you stop by New York City before heading down to Philly, because we are right back to back.
All right. Thank you all. I will see you at the PyLadies auction.